podcast. This is episode 34. Today, we're going to be talking about how some founders know what they need to do, but there's a difference between that and actually doing it. So, really, what we're talking about today is execution. Now, there's a lot of great information out there, especially in today's, age, but there's a big difference between information and action. So most founders and entrepreneurs, we know what we need to do. It's just some of us don't do it. Maybe some of us do it, but procrastinate on it a little bit, right? Which I think we're all guilty of. And so it's just important to keep in mind that we want to soak up all of the knowledge that we can. We want to be learning and make sure we have the information to make the right decisions, but we need to make the decisions. So today we're talking about being decisive and taking action. So I think that a lot of the reasons that entrepreneurs stop taking action or don't take enough action is the excitement. The excitement of the idea, the excitement of the opportunity, the excitement of the possible payoff. Let's be honest. As entrepreneurs, we are by design excited about new ideas. That's literally what we do, is come up with new great ideas and bring them to the market. And so it's in our nature to get very excited, and our job is to act on that excitement while it's hot. We need to strike while the iron's hot and make sure that we even trick ourselves into doing everything, right? We want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to further that idea. And that's all a lot easier when, you're excited about it, right? So just keep that in mind there. One thing that definitely kills a lot of entrepreneurs as far as executing is when work becomes repetitive. When work becomes so repetitive that it doesn't feel fun anymore and you're not excited about it anymore, that's when it can become really tough to keep going. So trying to pass some of those tasks off to other people, or having AI do it or some kind of virtual assistants do it. That is definitely one way to help solve that problem, because it is tough going through doing repetitive stuff when you want to be out there bringing new products and services to the marketplace or promoting the products you already have, but you're stuck doing some daily repetitive stuff. And I think that gets in the way of some of the execution for some entrepreneurs. Now, as we start executing and our businesses start growing, we have more responsibility. The responsibility feels heavier, and that can cause us to slow down and not take as much action and also not be as decisive. So just as important as actually taking action, executing it is being decisive so that you can figure out which action to execute. And the more responsibility that we have, the harder it is to make those decisions and be decisive. It's not easy to be super decisive very quickly when your decisions are going to affect people's payroll and whether you can pay your bills or not, and the future of the company, and there's employees and maybe even stockholders, whatever the case is. It's easier to make decisive moves when you're smaller and younger, as opposed to when you have a giant staff and people relying on you. So it's easier said than done to be decisive in business, especially when there's people relying on you and you get that big. And that is sometimes the source of not being able to execute as well as we want to, is because we may not be as decisive as we need to be. And again, it's easier said than done, especially when your company gets larger. As entrepreneurs, one of the things we're always battling with is motivation, because we're self-employed. We have to be self-motivated, and it can really harm your action when you're not properly self-motivated. So that's very key to stay in that mind state of being motivated and being able to create motivation out of nothing. Nowadays, it's a lot easier to create motivation out of nothing because you can start every day by listening to different podcasts or speakers or watching different YouTube videos, whatever the case is, and kind of get that daily dose of motivation and inspiration from some of the greatest entrepreneurs ever, and that's always at our fingertips. So definitely something good to start with every morning, or at least just know that you have that at your fingertips at all times. So it's easier nowadays than it used to be. You might back in the day have to actually attend some kind of conference and pay to see somebody speak and physically go there in order to get that type of motivational feeling from one of these speakers or successful entrepreneurs and learn how they did it. But nowadays, that's typically all free. Available to us at any time on different social media platforms. So definitely take advantage of that. That can help us keep motivated and stay inspired. So we talk about this a lot, the avoiding rejection. The inaction, a lot of the times, is from avoiding rejection. A lot of the times as entrepreneurs, we aren't taking action because we're scared that we're going to be rejected. That may even be the number one reason why entrepreneurs don't take action and don't execute, is because they're scared of the result being embarrassing or being rejected. And we just have to get over that. Keep in mind that every entrepreneur out there has been rejected. Every entrepreneur out there has failed. So that's going to be part of it. So if you're not willing to deal with that, then you might as well not start at all. So that shouldn't be the roadblock that's keeping you from executing your business plan, getting your product or service out there. That's just part of the game. So this game is not for you if you're not willing to be a little bit embarrassed, if you're not willing to be rejected, if you're not willing to fail sometimes, if you're not willing to put your own money where your mouth is. These are things that just come with being an entrepreneur. That's why the payoffs are high, because also comes with hard work. And so just understand that if you're not willing to do these things, then you're probably not cut out to be an entrepreneur. And I don't say that to discourage anybody from being an entrepreneur. I'm very passionate about everybody being able to pursue entrepreneurship, but just keep in mind what it comes with and be realistic about the results you're going to get compared to the work that you're willing to put in, the sacrifices that you're willing to put in, and the failure that you're willing to face and rejection, because it's going to come. There's no way to get to the point of being successful without some failures, without some rejection. It's just a fact of life. So sometimes we are a little bit bored with our business. This happens to probably every entrepreneur. Sometimes we're not as excited. Sometimes we're kind of bored. Sometimes it feels like we're just, kind of in the everyday run of things, or we're not creating something new, doing something new, being excited about something. Sometimes that leads to inaction and lack of execution. So it's one of those things where we have to stay motivated through those times where we do need to put our head down and do the work, but hopefully also keep adding that exciting element to it as well, which is for us entrepreneurs typically creating and building something new, as opposed to being in the monotonous everyday, execution of it once it starts becoming a larger entity. So why does executing an idea feel harder than learning about it? Well, that's because it is. But executing the idea is not only going to get you further and push everything forward, but you're going to learn more than just learning about it in the first place, right? The act of executing it is going to educate you on it. So just understand, preparation is a small part of it. The execution is actually the larger part of it. Preparation is nothing compared to execution. So let's talk about how small avoidances can become long-term stagnation. So as entrepreneurs, if we avoid certain things, it can really lead to a long-term stagnation of just being in the same place, doing the same thing. These are things like, skipping follow-ups, delaying outreach, not tracking your numbers and your conversions, um, and just kind of letting days slide by. These are all things that can naturally happen to us as founders and entrepreneurs, and we need to just make sure that we understand we need to stay on track, stay excited, and not let those little things slip by. It's not always a big shift to being stagnant. It's drifting off into, stagnation, one little missed opportunity at a time, one, follow up at a time, letting your numbers slip and not tracking your conversions. You're eventually just drifting away. It's not something that usually happens at one time that you can point back at and say. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into some questions here. Remember, you can send in questions to @foundingwithoutfunding and also @Kyle Hiersche. We also do accept questions in the chat live because we do stream this live on all the different platforms. Remember, take the course and read the book at the foundingwithoutfunding.com. So if you're looking to start or grow your business, go to foundingwithoutfunding.com, take the course, read the book. Everything is there for you. It will allow you to start and or grow your business immediately. So go to foundingwithoutfunding.com to get the book and the course, and we will help you get going. With that being said, here are some questions coming in. So question from Holden: I know what I should be doing, but I keep putting it off. How do you break that cycle? So how do you break the cycle of just knowing what you're supposed to do and not necessarily doing it? Is, I would say, something written down, something where you're committing to doing X, Y, Z that day, and making sure that you put it on paper can do a lot. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, for you to follow through and do it. And you don't want to wake up the next day and see that you didn't do things on yesterday's list and now you're looking at today's things. So that's definitely something that usually helps me, is just writing the things actually down to hold myself accountable to do them. Okay, question here from Camilla: why does execution feel so much harder than planning? Well, because it is, right? Execution is a lot harder than planning, but you learn a lot more, you do a lot more, and you have a lot more progress. That's what it's about, is execution. Planning should be a very small part of it compared to the execution. Now, that doesn't mean you need to plan lazily or not plan at all, but the planning part should be very small in comparison to the execution part. Okay, question from Trevor: how do you stay consistent once the excitement wears off? So staying consistent once the excitement wears off is one of the most difficult parts about being an entrepreneur and building a new business, especially because as entrepreneurs, we're usually passionate about things that are new, coming up with new ideas and bringing them to the market. So very important that we try to master that, art of still doing what we need to do to build and grow the business, even if we're not as excited about it because it might not be the newest, hottest thing, our freshest idea. So it's hard to do. I think every entrepreneur has their own way of doing that and staying motivated. Typically, it's because you want to make sure that you're making money, you're putting food on your table, and also that you're putting food on your team members' table, and making sure that you're doing what you're doing so that the company can live another day and grow to be able to support your other new great ideas or products or services that you want to bring to the market and spark that excitement up again. All right, question here from Yara: I feel like I'm always about to start. How do you cross that line into doing? If you feel like you're about to start, then there's only one thing to say is just do it. Just start. One foot in front of the other. Get started. Nowadays, it's so easy to get started with all the technology out there and all the information that is out there. So there's no excuse not to start your business. There's no excuse not to start the work that needs to be done to grow your business and build your business. There are really no excuses. You have the information at your fingertips. You have the tools at your fingertips. These things don't really cost money. So there's no excuse not to start or grow your business and get out there. And again, go to foundingwithoutfunding.com, get the course, get the book, and make sure that you have the tools that you need to get to that next level. And we break that down in the book and in the course and give you the information that you need and kind of guide you through that process as well. Okay, question here from Damon. What's the most common thing founders avoid even when they know it matters most? I think the most common thing that founders avoid is sales, because part of sales is being putting yourself out there, and part of sales is being uncomfortable, and part of sales is rejection, which are the three things people don't like the most, right? People don't like putting themselves out there to the public. They're scared of, rejection or being embarrassed. People don't usually like being uncomfortable, which making sales and being a salesperson of some kind is typically uncomfortable. And people don't like being rejected. And those are the three things that are going to happen inevitably when you get out there and work on sales. So I think those are the things that entrepreneurs put off most, is those things that revolve around sales. And so if we can get in the mind state of getting around that, then that should open up a lot of possibilities for us, is to make sure that we are comfortable focusing on sales, getting that done. And sales will allow us to be able to do everything else that we want to do. We have to have that cash flow. Cash flow is king. All right, question here from Kelsey. How do you stop waiting for the perfect mood or energy to work? So how do you stop waiting for the perfect mood to work? We got to get out of that mind frame, right? We got to get out of the mind frame that you need to be in some type of mood to work. We need to be working on our business 24/7 as an entrepreneur. And so if we need some type of mood to be motivated to work, that's probably not going to work in the long term. We need to be able to work no matter how we're feeling. And I think the larger picture, the big goal, these goals that you have written down of where you're looking to go and why you're trying to do these things, of course, the what you want to do and the why behind it, those are the things that should keep you motivated and in the right mood to do the work. But moods are kind of fleeting, right? They're up and down. And so we want to make sure we don't get in the habit of only working on our business when we're in the mood. The whole key to being successful is working on it even when you're not in the mood. Okay, question from Raphael. I have clarity but no urgency. How do you create pressure without burning out? So if you have clarity on what you want to do but no urgency, remember that somebody else is going to do it and you're going to miss out, especially right now in today's age with AI and all the tools. I keep talking about how easy it is to start a business, how to bring your product or service to the marketplace. So remember, if you're not doing it, someone else is going to do it. Remember that it's going to take time to do it. So the longer that you wait to start, the longer that it's going to take to get to the finish line. So if you know what you want to do and you have no urgency, you're actually in a great spot because you already know what you want to do, but you need to know that the urgency is important, because if you don't do it, other people are going to do it and you're going to miss your chance. So make sure to make it happen. Go to foundingwithoutfunding.com, get the book, get the course, get your business started, because if you don't, somebody else is going to. It's so easy nowadays with the right guidance to start a company, grow a company, bring a new product or service to the market. So if you're not doing it, somebody else will. You need to make sure that you're on top of it. You cannot wait to get out there. So get your product or service out there. Go to foundingwithoutfunding.com, get the book, get the course, and get started. Okay, question here from Imani. How do you hold yourself accountable when no one else is watching? I think holding yourself accountable when no one else is watching is mostly about goals being written down. So goals in your head are one thing, or those are more like wishes and dreams, but they're not really goals until you put them on paper. So writing them down, keeping track of them, both long term and short term goals, that is usually what's going to motivate you, because you knew that at one time you put this down on paper and this is where you wanted to be at this time, and this is what you wanted to have accomplished, and this is what you want to do. Are you getting further towards that? That should motivate you and say, hey, I'm getting there, we're trucking. And if you're not getting there, that should motivate you to even go harder. So either way, whether you're behind or you're ahead, when you're looking at your goals, either way it should motivate you to get even further. Positive motivation if you're already well on your way and you're ahead of the game, or it's a little bit negative, and using that as fuel and motivation if you're behind on your goals to get ahead on them. So written down goals, I think, are the easiest way to hold yourself accountable when you are self-employed and an entrepreneur. Okay, last couple questions here. So question from Oscar: what's the smallest actions that usually breaks execution paralysis? So if you feel like you're kind of paralyzed and not making any progress towards the future in your business, you should, again, probably analyze what's going on in your business, look at your goals, look at where you are, and also look at what you're doing on a daily basis and what could be done by AI, what could be done by some softwares. And that should kind of reset you into, okay, now I can work even harder, and now I'm working even smarter, and kind of motivate you to reset your mind frame, and reset your business, and reset your schedule and your time, and maybe even reset your goals at that point. Okay, last question here from Valerie. If someone wants to close the knowing and doing gap this week, what should they do first? So what should you do first if you want to make sure you start executing today? Make sure you write down some goals. Make sure you write down a to-do list for today. I think something very underestimated with entrepreneurs is an actual to-do list. So we talk a lot about goals. We talk a lot about long-term goals, short-term goals, but I think not enough people talk about literally a to-do list. And it can be as simple as written down on a piece of paper on your desk. Some people like that, the physical act of having a physical piece of paper, checking off a box with a check mark. And some people are more comfortable with computers, put it on a Google Doc or a spreadsheet, put a box there that you can check and check these things off that you do. So I think not enough people pay attention to that daily to-do list. You just get into your day and just do whatever's in front of you, but you want to make sure that you have that up and check each thing off when you're done. It'll make you feel good, make you feel like you're making progress, and it will keep you on track to make sure you're doing what you need to do on a daily basis to reach those short-term goals, which then will help you reach those long-term goals. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Remember, foundingwithoutfunding.com to get the book and the course that will help you start and grow your business. We also can create your business for you. So if you want help creating your business and growing your business, you can go to yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com, and we can actually take over for you and file the paperwork and get you all set up, handle your logo, your website, manage your Google ads, your Facebook ads, and everything to help your business get started and grow. So if you want help with that, we can help you at yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com. So if you want help starting your business, growing your business from professionals who have done it before many times, go to yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com, and our team can help you do that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you on the